Figure on TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host. The Yamin of Revolution. Justice. This hunt for justice for our little brother Nolan Wells continue. But before we get into that, y'all be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, revolution is a way of life, and revolution breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I got some revolutionary lunch for y'all. Let's get right to the content. Salute.
Has once again returned to Mississippi to interview the young men that were with Nolan Wells on the day he went missing and then ultimately was found deceased. There's a lot in this interview that I want to get into and break down, so let's get into it.
What is your thoughts on that phone call to Cito? Some people have gone out and done enhancements to the audio, and in doing that, created a transcript manually. It doesn't appear that the transcript was derived from an automated system or have any, in my opinion, real integrity with it. So what do you guys think about that audio?
From this very first question, I start wondering, is ex-Officer Tatum being paid by the attorneys that represent these young men or the young men's families themselves? Because that is a question that is very loaded, and it's leading towards innocence. It lets the interviewees know that the interviewer has a bias, and thus it's more about getting out a narrative than of finding the truth. Now, I want to be clear. I do not know what these boys did or did not do, but when you release videos like this, you open yourselves up to a certain level of scrutiny that was not there before. And that question doesn't sound like you are interested in an unbiased answer. You ask the question in a biased way that makes the interviewees feel more comfortable.
Well, I can go ahead and say that as you posted that clip of all of us on the boat, you know, as it's rolling, not rolling, but right there sitting in the water, Wyatt's on the phone with Cito in that clip. I mean, he's on the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something? Or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something. I mean, it's just so crazy to think that, why would we call Cito if we have a dead body on the boat?
To be very clear, when you are professing your innocence and you are passionately talking about your alibis and talking about how you would never do this and strongly advocating for you did not do this, that is not in and of itself proof of innocence. We can think about many, many cases where people have advocated and said like they did not do anything. I think about Rafael Palmeiro, who was testifying in front of Congress during the steroid trials for baseball, holding up his finger and saying, I have never used steroids. Then it turns out he did test positive and negatively ruined his legacy. Also, Lance Armstrong, maybe the most passionate defender of his own truth, of his own innocence. Turns out he was actually cheating and lying the whole time. So these boys saying like, don't you think that if we had done something, we wouldn't have done this? It just reeks of like not understanding that just because you are passionately trying to convince me of something does not mean that it's not true. And it's there's a lot more here we're going to get into, but I just want to make sure that you highlight, like, the investigation needs to pull out real evidence of what happened or what didn't happen. And someone saying they didn't do it is not evidence of innocence.
I mean, why would we call the Coast Guard? You know, why would we do the things we did if we know we killed somebody?
I think people, regardless of who it is going to believe what they want to hear. If they want to believe that my friends and I had something to do with Nolan dying, then they're going to believe that regardless of what you put out. But you put out, Brandon, that a clip of the boat when Wyatt was on the phone with Cito, and it is boldly clear that Nolan was not on the boat with us. You can literally almost see down to the deck. And as you can see in that picture, everybody is completely casual while Wyatt's on the phone with Cito. Yeah, we were scrambling around trying to get the boat fixed, but the guys were, in the video, you'd see me, I'm sitting on the bow. if there was someone dying on the boat, why would everybody just be sitting there waiting to either get towed in or in the first place, like Jack said, why would Wyatt call Cito? It's crazy. The reason we turned down Coast Guard is, why would we call Coast Guard if Cito could pull us in? But we fixed the boat and we ran into Fort Bayou, and that's it. The Cito call was completely enhanced, and these people just want to believe what they want to hear. And that's exactly what they're doing. So
if I were doing this interview, here's a question I would ask. Who was recording your boat? Why were they recording your boat at that exact moment? Because it could be a suspicious activity, like you guys are trying to establish an alibi. And lastly, couldn't Nolan have been on that boat? That question was not asked, so we do not know what these young men, how they would have explained that away.
It's just crazy to me that people have tried to twist this and twist the audio. When we came out with the first interview, it debunked half these lies, and now you don't hear about any of it. You don't hear about the pool party because it was on June 27th. You don't hear about anything else that was mentioned. Thousands of lies, and now, the audio comes back, and all of a sudden we can hear Nolan yelling in the background, screaming. We're screaming about how he's dead. That's just a complete lie. And it's another lie to push this narrative that people don't want to turn down. It's insane to me.
What's interesting to me here is that they're turning this case into a defamation case about the public having their own theories, hypotheses, and ideas about what might have happened on that day to Nolan Wells. And they're turning it to that and away from the actual investigation of what might have happened to their friend and brother, as they refer to him. And that seems very odd to me. If you really cared about him, you really loved him, you really considered him like a brother, you'd be far more interested in the truth than caring so much about what the public thinks about what you may or may not have done. But that clearly isn't the case here. Like, they are very interested on what the public thinks of what they did or didn't do. And so much so that they're turning this into a case about their own perceptions and how people are perceiving them, and away from the actual investigation to what may have happened to Nolan Wells on that day.
First of all, with respect to Warren, if you just murdered your best friend on an island, the dumbest thing you could do would be to call the Coast Guard, to call a federal law enforcement agency and tell them, hey, can you guys go out and check out this island and look for Nolan Wells? Well, that's exactly what Warren did. Warren called the Coast Guard. And that is one of many very compelling facts. He got back and he called the Coast Guard. Does that sound like a guilty man to you?
That's more what I was talking about before. Simply saying, if I were guilty, would I have done this? Is not in and of itself proof of innocence. As Lance Armstrong also said, like he said many, many times, if I were guilty, would I have allowed myself to have been tested this many times? Would I be the single most tested athlete on the planet? If I were actually guilty of anything, would I have done this, this, and this? Again, I'm not saying that these young men did anything. What I am saying is simply stating you didn't do it and saying it would have been really stupid of me to do ... if I had done anything is not evidence of innocence. We know that criminals often do really stupid things and get caught from doing the really stupid things that they do. So this just seems odd to me.
All right. Now, these are all American young men, incredible young men.
Referring to them as all American young men is an interesting phrasing as he's talking about his friends, and harkens back to like the perception of like, we are clean cut, white, good young men who couldn't have done this. That's intentional.
And they did a lot more than just that. I won't go through all of it now, but they did a lot of heroic things after the fact, and they did the best they could. And they tried for their dear friend. All of their actions are the actions of innocent men, not guilty men. And again, they are categorically, completely, and totally innocent.
I saw another clip where one of the young men referred to Nolan's mom as Miss Wells, which again, I find odd because you were supposed to be his like friend and brother, and you would know that she went by either Wansley as her last name or Wells Wansley. When I think back to my childhood, I can't remember a single time mispronouncing my best friend's parents' names. I mean, it's just, these are unusual things. Now, look, I don't know what these boys did or didn't do, and I don't know what they know or don't know. It could be just as likely that they saw something they're not saying that they saw. It could be like they know what happened to them, even if they didn't do it. They just saw the circumstance that led to it. Maybe they know nothing and are completely innocent. I don't know. But when you make videos like this, you increase scrutiny. You increase the scrutiny on this situation. And it's just an odd way to go about defending yourself. You are not defending the integrity of your friend. You're not behaving in a compassionate way. I think one of the most important things is you claim to have really loved your friend and brother Nolan. And you have to know that doing these kind of interviews is incredibly triggering to the family of Nolan Wells. So why are you doing them? Why are you not extending compassion to the mother and father of your fallen friend? And also, probably another egregious thing is the massive gaslighting happening here. You cannot sit here and say that, like, it is just crazy that people think we might have done something. There are some facts here that make this highly suspicious. Number one, you were the last people to be seen with Nolan Wells. By your own admission, you were with him on the last day of his life. That in and of itself makes you the entry point into the investigation, makes you the first target. And that's just reality of good investigation. But also, this is happening in Mississippi, where the history of Black people dying under suspicious circumstances, and yet it being determined that there was no foul play involved, means that there's going to be increased suspicion on the behalf of Black people. There will be, it's much harder to trust. Now, these young men being white should understand. And imagine if they were to say something like, we understand why these things are hard for people to believe, but yet they are true. We didn't do anything. We don't know anything, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not extending any compassion to the Black community, and they're not taking any of the historical context of what's happened in Mississippi into this account. They're literally saying, we don't understand why this is happening. And it's crazy that people are making this a black and white issue. No, it's not crazy. It's not. Even if you take everything else out and you just focus on the historical context of where this is happening, I'm sorry, it's not crazy. The Black community has lots of very good reasons to not trust what is happening in Mississippi. So look, do I know what you guys, what happened on that island? No. Do I know what those young men did or didn't do? No. But there are some very odd things happening around the circumstances. Choosing ex-Officer Tatum to be the one you're doing these interviews with alone, very odd. You're not choosing a journalist. You're not choosing someone that's helping you establish what the truth is. You're not working to get information out that is going to help Nolan Wells' family and help the investigation. You seem to be exclusively interested in what the narrative is around what the young men might have done. I find that interesting. So there's my analysis.
Reporting live from Hoppers Club for iPlus News, I'm John Opp.
Why would we call Cito if we have a dead body on the boat?
No matter how long it takes, people do not appear to be quietly accepting that Black teen can go missing and be found washed ashore 2 days later on an island he was last seen with friends. On Monday late afternoon, online personality Brandon Tatum would release another follow-up interview series surrounding the case of Nolan Wells. And this time it would feature two friends from the viral photo of Wells enjoying Horn Island, Mississippi before his assumed death hours later. Jax Vitalo, Morgan Seymour, and Warren Hudson would sit down with Tatum and their newly appointed attorney, Edward Palcic, together for the first time to respond to claims that they were involved in Nolan's mysterious death.
Right? And here's the most important thing, right? We don't know how Nolan Wells died. No one here is saying we know. But what we do know is Morgan, Jax, and Warren had nothing whatsoever to do with Nolan Wells' death.
Now, in the nearly 30-minute conversation, they would express what life has been like for them after being wrapped in headlines and accusations, while addressing factors of race being connected and directly stating that they did not have anything to do with Wells's death.
So first off, I wish that none of this would ever happen. I wish Nolan could still be here with us today. And I wish that, like I said, none of this would ever happen. Like I wish that all this could be erased and Nolan could be here tomorrow. I mean, that's more than anything. But other than that, I feel like his mom blasting us on social media from the get-go, saying that he was out there with Warren and another guy. That's where it first started to take off. And then also the fact that she posted a picture of me and Morgan and another guy and Nolan on the boat together, blasting that out there, pushing this narrative.
I wish it wouldn't have been reported as some type of race thing. I think it's really bad that like people are pushing the narrative, oh, this is a race thing. Well, obviously it's not. I mean, this is like a brother to us. I mean, Nolan's no different than anyone else in our group. And I just wish this wasn't pushed on the media as, oh, this is a bunch of white guys that killed a black guy, or this is, you know, like in the beginning it was like 4 guys went to a stranded island and dumped Nolan at the island and just left him there. Like even from the beginning, it was just like this thing and no one had facts and they were just pushing this horrible narrative, all lies about everyone. And it's sick. So I wish that would have been completely different. I'm glad I called the Coast Guard. I'm glad I made the first contact within all of this. I'm glad I was the first one that called Christine Wells that night and told her that we haven't heard from her son.
Now, when it comes to people upset with Black people in particular, making things like this about race, it would not be a fair stance given the history and current examples of Black people being treated a certain way because of their race. Sometimes the non-oppressed will not share the same eyes as the oppressed. Now, ironically, in this same interview, we would catch a moment that contradicts claims that race is not connected into this story, when Tatum would reveal that the friend's other Black friend would be denied service at a store due to his connection to the case, in which Tatum would then ask if the friends too have been shut down by stores, in which they would admit no.
Like they took, this is the definition of anti-racism. I mean, that we did not look at Nolan any different than I looked at him, or even you. You know, this is literally our brother. I mean, like we stated, we did not treat him any different. We didn't treat Trayson any different. We don't treat Trayson any different. And they just flipped it. And I just think that is so wild that they're pushing this thing that they're saying, oh, they want to end racism and all this stuff. Well, they're the one pushing it.
Because I heard that Trayson, he went to a corner store and they told him his money is not good there. They wouldn't even let him buy Gatorade.
Yeah.
Are you experiencing things like that or something totally different?
Right. I wouldn't say like that. I think I haven't been denied, you know, anything, but like Trayson, it's hard to hear from a good friend of mine that he's getting denied a Gatorade and a Red Bull before work.
So if treatment in the aftermath is different from theirs, then what other factors could it be? Now, just before this full moment would be released, a clip would be shared via TMZ, specifically highlighting the moment when the boys would directly address the now infamous Cito call and not killing Wells. For many, Patalo's response would stand out given his detailed denial.
What is your thoughts on that phone call to Cito? Some people have gone out and done enhancements to the audio, and in doing that, created a transcript manually. It doesn't appear that the transcript was derived from an automated system or have any, in my opinion, real integrity with it. So what do you guys think about that audio?
Well, I can go ahead and say that as you posted that clip of all of us on the boat, you know, as it's rolling, not rolling, but right there sitting in the water, Wyatt's on the phone with Cito in that clip. I mean, he's on the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a pot, like in a small space on the boat looking at him or something? I mean, that it's just so crazy to think that why would we call Cito if we have a dead body on the boat? I mean, why would we call the Coast Guard? Why would we do the things we did if we know we killed somebody?
Now, in response to this new break of silence, many Black online users would respond to the interview, with many sharing their lack of trust to the men's body language, answers, and decision to only be interviewed with Tatum, which for some shows their desperation to clear their names. To note, the investigation is considered ongoing, and neither one of them have been labeled a suspect by local authorities.
Hey, quick question. Who said anything about dumping his body on the island? When was that ever brought up? Why are they doing these podcasts? Like, what? Are you sure that the mom is a judge, or are you sure they have lawyers retained? Why are they doing these podcasts? Because if I'm your legal counsel, at no point would I be telling you that it is a good idea to talk about anything. Because there are literally cases being built right now. Anything they say, it can go into. Why are they doing these podcasts? Someone is clearly encouraging them to do this. And for whatever reason, it's not good. But this lets me know a couple of things. For one, these boys are definitely fighting this case in the court of public opinion already. The more public they can make it, the more times they can go out there and tell any story, the more times they can frame it as if they are just these 4 innocent little boys that went out with their one friend and they just don't know what went on. And the fact that people are trying to make this an issue is just, it's so terrible. It's so evil. They're fighting this case in the court of public opinion right now. It's so they can get ahead of any jury. I've said this before. This is what they're doing. They're trying to get ahead of juries. They're trying to get ahead of the selection that will take place. They're trying to get ahead of all of the stories that will be told when a trial comes and they have to pick a jury and people have their opinions. They're trying to get this out there already. This also tells me they weren't Nolan's real friend. They weren't. They absolutely were not friends with that young man. And I don't care how many different times they say they were, their behavior screams otherwise. They know what happened to him. They know. And that's why all their stories keep changing, or they're volunteering details that nobody asked for. Because like I said, who brought up dumping Nolan's body on the island? Who said that?
Them boys are talking again, and what they said was that they don't like how people turn this into a race issue, and that they made it into a narrative. They talking about us, about how it was about race, and that this was the most non-racist thing, the most anti-racist thing, meaning that them having a Black friend in their group, a friend that they claim to have not treated any different than any of the other people in their groups, as well as Tristan, the only other Black kid in their friend group, is the most anti-racist thing. I want them to understand that being friends with a Black person does not make you non-racist. I need them and other people like them to understand that talking about the factor of race, the aspect of race, whether or not race was a determining factor in a situation where somebody is now dead in a group of people who don't look like them, is not racism. It's not anti-white. It is based on a repetitive history of behavior and pattern recognition. It is coming from a survivor mentality of having to survive narcissistic abuse that is historically documented, that happens when a certain group of people take a certain individual that has melanated skin by themselves, and that person does not come back alive, and the rest of them do. I need them to understand and be really real, because we know better. We know that when you're that one Black friend in the group, you get made fun of, you get the jokes, and they laugh it off. The racism is casual. The racism is in jokes. It's dressed up as poking fun. But we love you, bro. We're just kidding, bro. Oh, you know you're my homie. You're my bro. I need y'all to understand something. Just because they were friends does not make them any less anti-Black or racist. And I know they don't understand that, because I know that they support what they support, they believe what they believe, and they think that it's Black folk that are pushing racism at the same time saying we want racism to end. No, Buki, us talking about race is not pushing racism. Us bringing racial determining factors to the forefront of a conversation and how race has operated within the systems of this city, of this town, of this state, of this nation is not racism.
when you are professing your innocence and you are passionately talking about your alibis and talking about how you would never do this and strongly advocating for you did not do this, that is not in and of itself proof of innocence. We can think about many, many cases where people have advocated and said like they did not do anything. I think about Rafael Palmeiro, who was testifying in front of Congress during the steroid trials for baseball, holding up its finger and saying, I have never used steroids. Then it turns out he did test positive and negatively ruined his legacy. Also, Lance Armstrong, maybe the most passionate defender of his own truth, of his own innocence, turns out he was actually cheating and lying the whole time. So these boys saying like, don't you think that if we had done something, we wouldn't have done this? It just reeks of like not understanding that just because you are passionately trying to convince me of something does not mean that it's not true. And it's there's a lot more here we're going to get into, but I just want to make sure that you highlight like the investigation needs to pull out real evidence of what happened or what didn't happen. And someone saying they didn't do it is not evidence of innocence. If you really cared about him, you really loved him, you really considered him like a brother, you'd be far more interested in the truth than caring so much about what the public thinks about what you may or may not have done. But that clearly isn't the case here. Like they are very interested on what the public thinks of what they did or didn't do. And so much so that they're turning this into a case about their own perceptions and how people are perceiving them, and away from the actual investigation to what may have happened to Nolan Wells on that day.
They're all American young men, incredible young men.
Referring to them as all American young men is an interesting phrasing as he's talking about his friends, and harkens back to like the perception of like we are clean cut, white, good young men who couldn't have done this. That's intentional.
Over in the comments of TMZ highlighting the moment, responses from Black users would continue. One user would go on to say, so these geniuses' first public interview, which being accused of murdering a Black boy, is with a Black man who is known for saying shit like the Black Wall Street massacre was Black people's fault. They did that shit, unquestionably. While another would go on to say, these friends are starting to use the death of Nolan Wells for press and notoriety, and it's sick. When you mourn someone you love, you don't go on a million press interviews. They're trying to get ahead of something. Lastly, on X, another would specifically call out what the boys and their representatives chose to wear in the interview. Nobody has a shirt or any type of rest in peace Nolan gear, and they're innocent. He wasn't really their friend, just a token Black guy. Now, across Facebook and Instagram, those same reactions would follow. One would go on to say, they have a guilty look. Another will go on to write, in journalism and mass communications, this is what we call PR. And another will comment, y'all ain't sad enough for me. My best friend died in front of me back in 2019, and I still get teary-eyed when I talk about it. Now, not every Black person has felt that Wells's friends are guilty of anything, as some have called out other Black people for instigating racial division.
Let me get this straight. First, you people were saying that Nolan's friends unalived him. And now that there's proof that Nolan was seen on the island after his friends left the island, it's still his friend's fault and they shouldn't have left him there. It seems like anytime there's some more evidence that vindicates his friends, y'all move the goalposts farther and farther back and still find some way to blame his friends for what happened to him, even though we still don't know what happened to him yet. And there's no proof that they had anything to do with it. It's honestly getting to the point where I think y'all are genuinely hoping that something bad had happened to Nolan Wells so y'all can have an excuse to push y'all's narrative.
Now, as far as what their newly appointed attorney has to say, who has represented Donald Trump around past defamation lawsuits, he would suggest some content creators should apologize for their statements or else they will be met with legal consequences. As of now, it is unclear as to when the grand jury will be presenting Nolan Wells' case to determine if a crime has been committed in connection to his death. But as mentioned at the top of this report, it doesn't appear that people will stop talking about it until they get those answers. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Do you think race plays a part in Nolan Wells' death? And do you agree with how his friends are deciding to speak out and shut down claims against him? Reporting live from Ibis Club, Fright Plus News, I'm John Abba.
All right, guys, come in the room. I got to get into this video. Nolan Wells' fake lying friends become victims again. You know, this is giving me fatigue, okay? Okay, fatigue, okay? This is beginning to be a little bit much. For people who claim that they are victims, you remember how they do it. They are always a victim, okay? This right here, I'm not watching the next one. I can't. When I tell you this gave me a headache, all they did was complain about what was done to them. They even attacked Nolan's mother. These are some entitled hunkers, okay? I can't take them serious. I can't take anything they say to be serious. And this is why I believe that they ass is guilty, okay? All of these podcast interviews with a whitewashed coon, okay, COON. This is weird. I need to let them know this. Everybody don't live in no damn Mississippi, okay? I wouldn't drive through Mississippi. I got relatives in Mississippi. If they want to see me, they got to come out of Mississippi, okay? We don't live in no damn Mississippi, and we don't play these bullshit games. We say what we want to say, how we want to say it, and we don't give a fuck if you like it or if you don't. Okay, so let me say it again in the camera. I think that you're guilty. Okay, I think that all of them is guilty. I believe that they played a part in it. Okay, so Ho, you telling me you gonna send me a cease and desist? Ho, send it and file your paperwork, because I'm going to sue your ass back, okay? Because I have damages myself. See, two can play that game, okay? You people always want to become victims. That is your mentality. You're barbaric animals, and you want to become victims. Now, isn't that crazy that Nolan Wells ended up dead while being with fake-ass friends? But yet you grifting, low-down dirties want to create a GoFundMe in his name, become a victim. Oh, I'm being attacked. Get a life. Get a fucking life, okay? Nolan Wells' mother is being attacked, and you all calling her job, but you want to tell us you being attacked. You people make me sick. You make me want to throw up. Y'all, let's get into this.
Ed Pausick, Warren, Jax, and then we have Morgan here. And so I talked to Warren last time I was here. We had a really deep conversation, and I'm glad that we were able to get other perspectives now that we have Ed here. Ed is a defamation attorney. And
defamation attorney. He's a loser. Didn't he lose the pedo president's cases? I don't know. Y'all let me know. All of these people are idiots. Like, I'm watching the next part of it, because every time this COON go and get these idiots, it's never anything worth watching. Like, I just lost 30 minutes of my life. Look at the a-hole so-called attorney. He's given a-hole. That's what he's giving. He looks like he won too. Oh, racist. That's what he looks like. Yeah.
I want to start with you, Ed. You know, why did you choose to work with the boys? What do you
listen to this, guys? Just let this play. I'm overly excited. Y'all got to listen to this shit.
What is your plans? What do you expect to get out of working with them? What's your expectations when it comes to defamation?
Well, I think an injustice in one place is an injustice everywhere.
An injustice in one place. You sound like you dropped out of elementary. What about the injustice of Nolan Wells' life because he didn't drown? And injustice is one, blah, blah.
I hate lying. I care about the truth.
You hate lying, but you represented Donald Trump. So apparently you like liars. And then, based on their own statements, especially this dude Warren, it seemed like he was lying. It just wasn't adding up. But you hate liars? I don't know about that.
But but most of all, it's the actual people who are involved here. So first of all, I just want to say Tyler Cox really welcomed me here, my co-counsel. He's an incredible human being and he's an incredible attorney. And then after that, I had an opportunity to meet these incredible young men.
I want you guys to understand this is what they do, okay? This is what these kind of folks do. They are professional liars, okay? He represented Donald Dumb Trump. That's all he does is lie. Every time he opened his stinky breath, he's telling a lie. So this is what they do. They lie. They never take accountability. And then they want to go around to these different podcasts. Why in the do we have to keep looking at them? Why do they keep coming out 30 days later? You know, they hear from social media, ran and got an attorney. I would just say keep hiding. We don't believe shit that you have to say. Please stop stuffing it down our throats.
And I just got to say, these guys are unbelievable. Warren, Jackson, Morgan, they're just beautiful people. They're really decent human beings. They're just great people. And
sound like a lie. Why is he repeating it over and over? I mean, if they're such great people, you wouldn't need to tell us that. We would figure that out ourselves. But I don't think a lot of us feel the way that you feel.
You know, that's why I'm here, because I want to help great people. And
just like you wanted to help Donald Trump, that great dope people.
This is a very sad situation, but it's also a very human situation, and it's a tragedy.
So you guys have,
it's a tragedy that what's happening to them. Watch, pay attention. There's no tragedy for what happened to Nolan. Peep it, y'all.
Obviously, before this happened, I would assume you're living a regular life. Young guys being in college.
Nolan was living a regular life. He was definitely living a regular life. What happened? Was there some haters among the group? I mean, something happened. He just didn't drown. I know that's the lie you want us to believe.
Having a typical experience, then you lose your friend, Nolan. And after that, what has life been like for you guys?
I think like
you see this, it goes immediately to them. You have Nolan's family that's left behind. These people were barely his friends. The parents didn't even know these people. They were not his friends. They were associates. But yet we're focusing on them. Why? I don't want to hear from them again unless they're willing to tell what really happened.
Since it happened, my life just like hit like a hole. Like it just stopped. And I mean, we just got to live day by day from now on. I could say definitely a whole flip upside down for our lives.
Why do you think they feel so comfortable going to Officer COON's platform? Like there's so many places that they can go to. Why do you all think that they feel so comfortable constantly interviewing with him? I'm sure you can come up with the answer.
Like even going out, we're always paranoid somebody's going to see us, get spotted, try to beat us up potentially, or even worse. We're really just trying to stay low key and not go out as much or anything like that.
Victim, they are the victims here.
It's been hard because my friends and I are people. I mean, we like to be out.
You're people who have a life. You don't seem to realize that, right?
Hang out outside of our friend group, and not being able to like go certain places or, walk around in public because our head's always on a swivel. It's really affected all of us. I mean, especially in like my family's standpoint.
I don't like these piece of trash people. I can't understand while they're complaining about the smallest things, but yet Nolan has no more days left. These are not his damn friends. I wouldn't be surprised if they were jealous of him. How does a person's tragic death now become about you?
My safety comes first. My friends and family safety comes
first. My safety comes first. What an asshole. At least you get to worry about your safety. Nolan, somebody unalived him. He he didn't get that. But y'all listening to this bullshit.
First two, and it's been really hard because I'm worried about like my family as well with me, and it's hard, but you know, we're just going day by day and just trying to get through every day. You know,
Can you give me some examples of what has happened? Have you guys have had things happen online, threats online? Have you guys have any examples of people cost?
Threats online. This is too absurd. Threats online? Are you kidding me? People, I mean, it's not like they know you or where you live. Why are we talking about threats online for people who don't even know you? The victim mentality. Let me shift this off of Nolan because I am a victim and you got to hear what's happening to me.
You or anything like that?
oh yeah, we have had countless death threats online. Been spotted. I'll let you elaborate more on that. Being spotted. I mean, people have obviously just pointed us out. I mean, as a group.
Listen to this. You're concerned with people pointing you out, but yet you keep going on podcast interviews. Does that make any sense? You are concerned with people pointing you out, but yet you went on this podcast. So don't you realize now that more people are going to be able to point you out? Are you that dumb? How does that even make sense? You're concerned about being recognized, yet still going after interview after interview where people can recognize you. You're doing this to yourself. I'm starting to think you like this kind of attention. Maybe this was part of the plan.
And even on a one-on-one setting, I think it's really just like awkward because I don't want to talk about this, and I know my friends don't want to talk about this any more than we need to. You know, we're still.
Wait a minute. You don't want to talk about this any more than you need to. Well, we didn't come looking for you. We didn't ask for you. We don't even want to hear from you. We want the investigation to be done fairly. We don't care what you have to say because we feel like you're going to continue to lie because I feel like you're a liar. Okay. So I guess I don't understand. You know, you don't want to be, you know, there's crazy people out there, unfortunately, just like it was crazy people that unalived Nolan. Okay. So if you don't want to be recognized, tell me why in the are you doing interview after interview after interview? The lies, the lies, the lies.
Mourning one of our best friends' death, and it's hard to speak about.
And he keeps referring to Nolan as his best friend. They were not, you were not Nolan's best friend. Please stop the lies. His mother barely knew you. So tell me, how are you his best friend when you said yourself that you never even went over his house? You sound stupid. Please stop.
About it when, you know, like sometimes we just need some alone time or sometimes we just need to, you know, lay back and not be around all this. And I mean, I've been called out in public. And I haven't been in public that much. I know my friends have had encounters in public. The threats have been insane from, you know, my stepmom, my dad, my mom, just everyone, included like even my brothers, my sisters. And it's just hard. I mean, it's unbelievable where like this has been taken to and the level where this is at.
Imagine being Christine. Your son is murdered. The last person that he was seen with were you people, you know, and he just disappeared, which makes no sense. They searched the island, couldn't find him, but he showed up 2 days later. It makes no sense. But you're complaining about what now?
You say you've been called out in public. Can you give me an example of like, what do you mean? People are threatening you with weapons? People are, you know, not allowing you, denying you service? Because I heard that Trayston, he went to a corner store and they told him his money's not good there. They wouldn't even let him buy Gatorade.
Yeah.
Are you experiencing things like that or something totally different?
Right. I wouldn't say like that. I think I haven't been denied, you know.
Well, hey, I mean, I guess it kind of goes like this. When you put yourself out there, well, let's just talk about it. People don't like y'all. I mean, they just don't. So when a majority of people don't like you, it's something that you're doing, okay? So why don't you take responsibility for what it is you're doing? I mean, if somebody gave me my money back and said my money wasn't good here, I'm going to look within and be like, damn, what did I do? So seems like you guys have a lot of personal problems.
Anything, but like Tracy, it's hard to hear from a good friend of mine that he's getting denied a Gatorade and a Red Bull before work and having to, like, he calls me, he's like, dude, you won't believe what just happened. He got called out at Walmart. Someone called him out at Walmart and was like,
asking him all these questions and trying to press him about it. And it's crazy to me. Like, we live in a very tight-knit community, and for people to, push back and say these things when they know what Ocean Springs is like, it's really hard. I mean, I don't think I've had many personal encounters, but I know being around the guys.
We know what Ocean Springs is like. He actually told us. He says Ocean Springs is going to protect Ocean Springs. But what he never said is that Ocean Springs is going to tell the truth. So essentially, he made it seem like all y'all do is lie and stick up for each other. So, yeah.
Stuff like that they have, so.
And Ed, as an attorney that's representing these boys, I mean, what does that make you feel like? Do you feel?
Listen to the attorney, I guess. I mean, I guess that's who he is. Legs open, arms crossed. Looks like a thug to me, but that's just my assessment.
Like you got a good case here, or, what's your perspective in that? Because, people are online and obviously they know who you are. Obviously they know you represent Donald Trump in some pretty high profile cases. And so now that you've joined.
He represented Donald Trump. Woo! Woo-hoo! Donald Trump. They don't like him either.
Or at least now you work for the young men here. You hear them say things like they've been accosted, they've been, threatened online. Does that make your case a greater case, or?
People are threatened every day. Call the police. Like, we don't care. Like, I don't care about you being threatened. I mean, Christine is being threatened. If I was concerned about threats, I would be concerned about the mother. You should call the police.
How do you work within what's happening to these young men?
Well, unfortunately, I wish there was no case. I wish this hadn't happened. But unfortunately, because these things did happen, there is a case, and now there's multiple cases.
He said he wished these things didn't happen. Do you wish that it didn't happen to Nolan? Like, what do you mean? Or do you just wish that, they got no backlash? Like, what do you mean? You wish?
And let me tell you something. If you're out there and you lied about these guys, you lied about my guys, you lied about Tyler's guys here, if you lied about Morgan, if you lied about Jax, if you lied about Warren, we're going to get you. And you're going to be hauled into court. You're going to be held accountable. And it's going to be very painful.
So here's the deal. I don't know what this idiot is talking about. Defamation is very hard to prove. So what's going to end up happening is whoever you decide to sue, you're going to even make them more popular than what they really are. And then you're going to look like a fool. Let me just tell you why you're going to look like a fool. You're going to look like a fool because people can give their opinions on what it is that they see. Just like today, these morons that you have with you are out doing more interviews. You just gave us another week or two of content, you idiot. So you don't get to go from platform to platform and interview and think we're not going to talk about it. We don't give a about what you're talking about. We don't care. We don't care. It's like, wah, 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 wah. We don't live in Mississippi. We are not with your bullshit, okay? You don't tell us what to do. We do what we want to do, okay? So you do what you do, and we'll do what we do.
And what I would say to the people who have done that is, now's your chance. If you want to apologize and retract.
You people are a joke. A joke. Barbaric animals. Apologize. I wouldn't apologize if it was my last breath on earth to apologize to these type of people. People are entitled to their opinion and what they feel about the case. If you don't like it, that's your problem. We don't live in Mississippi. We don't do Mississippi shit, and we don't give a fuck. Okay? We don't give a fuck. Okay? We're not Mississippians.
Before you find yourself in court, you should probably do that now. Because if you don't do that, once you're in court, now you just can't leave.
We want court. That's going to be actually awesome. And you're going to look like idiots. Look at these. Are they slow? I wonder were they in special classes. You're grifting off of a deceased person for attorney fees, and you haven't even been charged with something. You people are sick, barbaric animals. That's what you are. Sick, barbaric animals.
You won't be able to get out of it. And we're not going to name names because there's some other folks who are doing that, and we want to be better than that. And I want to emphasize,
you can't be better than that. You are like top grade trash. A young boy has lost his life, but the only thing you animals can see is yourselves and how you can benefit and profit. Almost $200,000 that you grifted off of somebody that you knew, but didn't even know enough to even come to his funeral, and then made an excuse about that.
Besides this, right? We're not here to guess. We're not here to speculate. We're only going to deal in facts, right? Here's the most important thing, right? We don't.
Well, unfortunately, dummy is what your name is going to be. We can speculate as much as we like. Like I said, I believe not only these guys have either some information or could have been involved. I think that there's more. I also believe that a lot of people know what happened. Okay. Those are my thoughts. Okay. And it ain't changing.
Don't know how Nolan Wells died. No one here is saying we know. But what we do know is Morgan, Jax, and Warren had nothing whatsoever to do with Nolan Wells' death.
Okay. So those three. So who did? Who did? Was it Bart? Because, you know, that call did say, damn it, Bart.
And that's what's important. And unfortunately, because there are people who want to divide a town and come in from the outside and tell people what to think and pit neighbor against neighbor, it compounds the tragedy. It magnifies the tragedy. And I just want to say this. Here's why it's an even bigger tragedy. Because my friends here, Morgan, Jax, and Warren, these guys are not just the finest that Ocean Springs has to offer.
The finest that Ocean Springs has to offer? Ooh. Yeah, they need to probably get somebody else, because if that's the finest, oh, they in trouble.
That Mississippi has to offer. These are the finest young men that America has to offer.
Yeah, I beg to differ, because we got some bad, some nice, when I say bad, I mean it in a good way, some very nice brown-skinned ones who I know is better, okay? I know they better. So when you say 3 white T-boys is the best that Ocean Springs have to offer, I think they're the best that the world has to offer. Shut up. Just shut up. You need to get on the treadmill. I see your big stomach right here poking out. You got all that GoFundMe money. You need to spend a little bit on a trainer, maybe. Big belly.
You know, really great people. And Tyler actually taught me good Ocean Springs people. That was one of the first things I heard when I got here. So I'll just say that they're good Ocean Springs people.
Sorry to interrupt. I know you're enjoying this.
Good old Ocean Springs people. I just know there's some good old Ocean Springs people. Whew. Y'all, this is a mess, a hot mess. They good old Ocean Springs people, okay? Good Ocean Springs people. Now let's finish watching this mess, because it's a mess. It really is.
Are you? Because you just met these young men more recently. And are you confident that these young men had nothing to do with it?
Confidence not a strong enough word. In fact, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Confidence, okay. This is their lawyer. I mean, you really think he's going to tell you anything if he knew it? Come on now. This is a clickbait interview.
Not strong enough. There's a 0% chance that they did anything wrong. So this is not 90%. It's not 99%. It's not 99.9999. There's no decimals. There's no anything. It's 100%. 100.000%. Nothing.
So does this mean that they're innocent? Maybe they just knew what happened? Listen, you cannot take this attorney for shit that he says. What attorney would tell you if their client was guilty?
They did nothing wrong. And that's the problem for our opponents here, who have ruined their lives, dragged them through the mud.
Ruin their lives? I think that's far-fetched. For ruining someone's life, you're gonna look like a fool in court, aren't you?
And attack them. You don't get to lie. We have a First Amendment. We love our First Amendment, but you don't get to lie and hurt people. You want to lie and it doesn't hurt people? Fine. You lie and...
I don't know who are these people? I just remember Warren, and I know he mentioned these other 2 guys' names. So I don't know what this attorney is talking about. Of course, he wants to get that GoFundMe money, so he's probably lying himself.
You hurt people, that's why we have defamation. And that's what this is about. So I just want to emphasize this in the strongest possible.
You know, the bad thing about what this dumb attorney is saying, when you sue somebody, you know, they have a right to ask you whatever questions they want to ask you. Those same questions now can be used to prosecute you. So it's very interesting that a dumb attorney would take this kind of action because it essentially can backfire. So he says that they're innocent. I don't know if they're innocent or not. I mean, I don't know what he considers as innocent, because you could know what happened and not tell it. That's not innocent. That is guilty. So if they know something and not telling it, that's guilty. So of course, him as their Timu ass attorney, of course, he won't tell you that. But the issue here is, you know, what do they know? What did they do? We don't know. So on that boat, on that CETO call, the lady stated that she clearly heard Warren's name on that boat. So on that call, they said, is he dead? So let's say Warren was just there and he didn't do anything. But if he witnessed something, he wouldn't be innocent.
Terms. Zero wrongdoing. Completely innocent. Totally innocent. And categorically innocent.
And you guys have had experiences with either people threatening you online. I know that, Warren, we talked about this before, and we talked a little.
Why are we talking about people threatening them online? Can we get into some more seriousness? This is stupid.
Or at least spoke a little bit about when you go out, you guys are getting accosted by people. Can you give us
Call the police. Like, we don't care about that either. Like, you're not a celebrity. I mean, you got 200,000 almost. Pay for a security guard. Like, why are we hearing this?
An example of, or at least tell the audience, an example of an incident where you guys may have been accosted, or what does that look like when you go out? People threaten you with weapons, or people trying to physically harm you, or people having to be restrained? What kind of engagement is happening when you guys go out?
We went to a restaurant, a couple of buddies of mine, and when we were, I wouldn't say threatening with weapons or anything, but I felt, and I know my friends felt, threat for our lives. I mean, I don't think there was like a fear factor, but at the same
lies. You felt threat for your lives, you moron. Why didn't you call 911? You see this victim mentality. Have you ever felt a threat for your life and you just went on a podcast to tell about it? Call the popo. Ho.
Same time, like it's awkward in public, like I stated, like when we have to talk about these things. But we went to a restaurant and someone came up to me and was like, "Is this you?" And I was kind of like shaken up about it. Well, at first she asked like my name and, you know, like all these questions, and I was like, okay, whatever, you know, she's coming up to talk. Well, then she came up to me again and showed me our first interview and was like, "Are you sure this isn't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's me, like obviously." And she kind of just, I looked at my buddy and I was like, "Yeah, we're leaving, like close everything out, like we're going." And I left, and there was an altercation after I left with some of my buddies that weren't involved in this at all. And they told my friends that they were going to kill them and they wanted to fight and all this like crazy stuff. I mean,
why call the police? Do you have a number? You know, like a case number when you call the police? Why are we listening to this? It sounds like wah, 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 wah.
Wasn't there, but my friends told me this, that what the people were saying to them was like totally just crazy. Like, I mean, there was people like that were, you know, outside of this telling us like, "Hey, you need to leave before something happens because I know what could go down right now. And like, I know that these people are crazy." So, I mean, we all felt.
Okay, boy, shut up. Did you call the police? If you didn't call the police, I don't care, because call the police.
We were kind of shaken up about that. It was weird because it was our first encounter as a group. And I think it's also like just crazy that people will like look at you in the eye and tell you they'll kill you because they believe you killed your best friend and you have nothing to do with it.
And Morgan and Jackson, were you guys there?
Yes, we were there. I didn't hear the part where they said they were going to kill him and stuff, but I did hear whenever she came up to him originally, she was like, "Hey, you have like TikTok or anything like that? Your face looks really familiar." And he was like, "No, I don't have TikTok or anything like that." She was like, "Oh, okay." And then walked off and then came back with, like you said, the first interview on her phone and showing him. She's like, "So this isn't you. Either you have a doppelganger or this is you." And he was like, "Well, yeah, that's me." And then we got the check and we bounced and we were waiting outside for everybody else to get out of there. And while we're waiting outside is whenever some of our other buddies that aren't even on social media that we were just there with was getting told that other people were going to kill them and all that kind of stuff.
So how did that make you guys feel? Did you think they were serious? Did you think it was just people trying to make a name for themselves by confronting you in front of
my goodness
others? Like, what was your take on that, Morgan?
I think it was just like I was in the general area of where one of our buddies was, where this altercation happened, and I actually got into a conversation with a fellow next to me that wasn't even involved, and he told me straight up, he was like, "If I was y'all right now, I would leave before y'all get hurt. Y'all need to leave right now. I'm just watching out for y'all and making sure y'all are safe." And I mean, I wouldn't say that those people would have physically done something in that moment, but I think they were playing like almost like a mental game, like just to get into your head and just almost like make yourself like.
I mean, I'm confused. What are we even talking about? Victims, and more victims. But we have Nolan Wells, who he is gone. He don't get to wake up anymore in his bed. He don't get to talk to his parents. They don't get to send him to college or, none of this. And they are complaining about shit that doesn't matter. Online threats. These folks online don't even know you. They're just saying dumb shit because that's just what they do. Just like, Warren got on here and seemed to be telling lies. I mean, this is just what they do. Warren claimed he saw Nolan last at 3, but then said that his friend told him to get on a boat at 4:30. Like, which is it? Is it 3 or was it 4:30?
Just think these things that obviously are not true.
If you can go back to the very beginning of this, how do you think this should have played out? Because I always question in my mind that when I go back, I look at what happened, I look at the initial stories with Nolan, and you guys knew him, right? I didn't know him. I know none of you guys. I just had a chance to meet you guys more recently. But how do you think this should have gone? If you could control the environment, Nolan is found deceased. How do you guys think that this should have been put out to the world?
Listen to what they say. Keep in mind, this dude Warren, this hasn't been his first interview. Never has he stated, if you guys recall, in the first interview, he made it seem like it was Nolan's fault. Nolan wanted to stay. He got that backlash. Listen to what he says now.
So first off, I wish that none of this would ever happen. I wish Nolan could still be here with us today. And I wish that, like I said, none of this would ever happen. Like, I wish that all this could be erased and Nolan could be here tomorrow. I mean, that's more than anything. But other than that, I feel like his mom blasting us on social media from the get-go.
His mom blasting us. You see what I'm saying? The victim mentality. I'll be honest, I never saw his mother blasting them. I never saw or heard her say anything derogatory. See, if it was me, baby, bye. I don't recall it. I think she's been more poised than she needed to be. So for these little monsters to attack a grieving mother, it tells you exactly who they are, okay? You claim Nolan was your friend, but yet you are going after his grieving mother? Yeah, I don't think you such a good person as this dude, attorney, Timu attorney says that you are. Because the way that you're going after his mother is kind of weird.
Saying that he was out there with Warren and another guy. That's where it first started to take off. And then also the fact that she posted a picture of me and Morgan. And
she posted a picture because she was looking for her son. And I believe the picture was the last picture that she had of you all together. But for some reason, you want to go after a grieving mother. She's not thinking anything other than, if you guys have saw him, let me know. And I believe that's what the post was about, if I'm correct. Y'all correct me in the comments. So what would be so facetious about that? Again, you're not looking at a mother looking for her son. You're looking at yourself.
And another guy and Nolan on the boat together, blasting that out there, pushing this narrative, kind of, I guess.
She never pushed the narrative, by the way. She never did.
I wish that would have never happened either. And I don't think if those would have never happened, a lot of this stuff wouldn't have been as viral or.
Stop blaming Nolan's mother. Again, she's been as poised and as nice as anybody that I would ever know. I mean, it wouldn't have, listen, the people I know, it would have never even went down like that. Okay. Because folks would have been missing. Okay. Folks would have been missing. Okay. So that's just how it is. Okay. Christine was very, very nice. From my understanding, she said, have you saw my son? I don't believe she said anything. Again, y'all let me know. But them to directly attack her like that, it shows me what they really felt about Nolan. I mean, I had friends growing up that passed away. And, some of the mothers I knew, but it wasn't like I was lovey-dovey with their mother. But I would never use that as a time to be like, oh, I never liked your mama anyway. It's just, and then they say Christine made it, kind of trying to insinuate that Christine is the reason for them catching a backlash. No, Christine had nothing to do with it. We saw this for what it is, and we still see it for what it is today. We don't know Christine. We're not talking to Christine over the phone. We see what this is. This is Mississippi. He was the only Black person, from my understanding, that was on the boat, and he wind up missing. Okay. Yeah, that's what we saw. So you trying to make it seem like Christine did or said something is a lie.
Going all over the country at this point. I mean, this is a countrywide news story that is just blown out of proportion. And the fact that it was our best friend and it's not what people...
Blown out of proportion? How? He lost his life, and we're still trying to figure out why when he was allegedly with friends, right? So why? How is it that he lost his life with friends? As many trips as I've taken with friends and hung out with friends, I've always been safe, because when you are a friend, you make sure your friend is safe. I've been out with girls that were drunk, and I said, "Girl, come on, you don't get a choice, okay?" So you all, from what I heard, is that Nolan was allegedly so drunk. So he was so drunk, but then you said you left him on the island. Come on now. That story is the most bullshit story that I've ever heard.
People are saying it is what hurts the most. I mean, that was our brother. I mean, straight up. That's what I told us.
That was your brother. Whoa. I would hate to see what the enemy treatment would be like. Yeah, I don't know what you guys, when you say brother, is that just something you call everybody? Because it ain't giving brother to me.
The night that he came over to my house, he was like, blah, blah, saying something. I was like, dude, that was my brother. Like, and you know that. He knows that. We were picking him up every single day. He never drove.
Why do you say that was my brother? Why were you speaking in past tense? I mean, the only time I say somebody was is if they were not in that current moment. But to say he was and then he, winded up dead, is given that you knew something. Because why didn't you say, Nolan is my brother? The way that I look at it, you knew something. So you said was because did you know that he was dead? He was my brother. I'm not sure why you would be speaking in past tense for somebody that you didn't know was dead.
I can't tell you how many times I pulled up in his driveway and picked him up. And it wasn't him asking. It was just because that's what we did. We just picked up Nolan all the time. That's how we, came about all the stuff that we were going to. We'd go and pick him up. That's how much we like to be around him. We would do stuff like that all the time, Well, first off, like, I wish we would have never, like, I think about this every day. Like, I wish we would have never went out on the 4th of July because I know this wouldn't have happened. Nolan wouldn't be gone. And
this is such a setup. This is his second interview, and you're now saying that you wish that you had never went out. Well, I would have wished that in the beginning, like within the first interview. This is clearly damage control. This is not real. It is not authentic. This is for you all to start feeling sorry for them, because you now, August 10th, wish that you hadn't went out to Horn Island. But when you did your video during the time that they were grieving, and they're still grieving, and I believe it was during the time of the funeral, you never said those words. So it's very interesting that you guys have allegedly read the comments and, saw what the people were typing. And now you wish that you had not went out on Horn Island. Very, very weird.
Like, it's really hard to think about, because it's like, I wish I would have done this different, or I wish I would have done that different, because now one of my brothers were
very interesting, because in the interview that you did originally, you basically blamed Nolan and said, hey, he wanted to stay at the island. Never did you say anything as it relates to you wish that you had never went on Horn Island. So I'm glad that you read the comments, but it's just a little bit too late. Doesn't seem authentic.
Like, passed away, but I think from the beginning, I'm glad that I called the Coast Guard, and I'm glad that we came together as a group.
He's glad that he called the Coast Guard, that he confirmed days later. We don't believe that either. In fact, your report was about 10 and 11 o'clock at night, which was also suspicious. We want to know, why would you wait to 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock to report somebody? Because here's the deal. If I think someone is with someone, I'm not reporting them, because why am I reporting them? They are with whoever they're with. But the fact of the matter is that you decided to report him missing at 11:30 makes me believe that he was missing the whole day, and you were just looking for an opportunity to report them, but really not report them, because at 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock, it's kind of dark, it's late. It's not like they can go out and look for them. So those are just my thoughts. Okay. That's just what I believe.
Even from the first day when people started texting us things, saying, crazy things, but I wish it wouldn't have been reported as some type of race thing. I think it's really bad that people are pushing the narrative, oh, this is a race thing.
Well, honey, it is a race thing, and you're very aware of your beige privilege. So let's not pretend that we don't live in a world where it's always about race. This is about race now, because had it been Nolan with all of his brown friends and one of you beige people, for instance, you, Warren, and you came up unalive, this would be a different scenario. It would not be the scenario of everybody that was with Nolan is basically living their life, talking shit, and becoming a victim. Yeah, it would be a little bit different, because those black boys will be in jail. So please stop the lies in the word salad.
Well, obviously it's not. I mean, this is like a brother to us. I mean, Nolan's no different than anyone else in our group. And I just wish this wasn't pushed on the media as.
And you guys catch how he's forever saying he's like a brother to us, brother. Is there any other words that you can use? I mean, you have told us that he's like a brother to you. We don't believe it, but I'm not sure why you keep repeating the same word.
Oh, this is a bunch of white guys that killed a black guy, or this is four, like in the beginning it was like 4 guys went to a stranded island and dumped Nolan at the island, just left him there. Like even from the beginning, it was just like this thing, and no one had facts, and they were just pushing this horrible narrative, all lies about everyone, and it's sick. So I wish that would have been completely different. I'm glad I called the Coast Guard. I'm glad I made the first contact.
You hear this? He keeps saying, I called the Coast Guard, steady repeating the same thing over and over and over. You say you called the Coast Guard, but the interesting part that I learned is the Coast Guard reported, said, yeah, you called them, but it was like days later. So we didn't believe that either. So this whole case is given corruption. It's given corruption, because I'm not understanding how the district attorney is even investigating this case, being that the district attorney would work in the same building as your mammy, your stepmammy. So yeah, it's given that it seems like someone else needs to be investigating this and not Mississippi.
Within all of this, I'm glad I was the first one that called Christine Wells that night and told her that we hadn't heard from her son. And I'm glad that.
Then he acts like he did something great. Oh, I'm the first person to call Christine that night. What about Nolan's phone? Like, why did you call Christine and tell her that you had his phone, which is odd considering that Christine said she was calling the phone, which would indicate that the phone was ringing, and you never thought to say, oh, shoot, it's Christine calling. Let me call her and let her know that we got the phone. It's given suspicious.
And I did all that, but I hate the way this has been perceived by the media and portrayed. This has been absolutely horrible with the way and the things that they've said to us and done. But other than that, I mean, there's not much I would change from my point of view and my friend's point of view. I think we did everything right. I know we did nothing wrong. I also want to say, I think it's so criminal that they took something so anti-racist and flipped it into something super racist. Like they took, this is the definition of anti-racism. I mean, that we did not look at Nolan any different than I looked at him, or even you. This is literally our brother. I mean, like we stated, we did not treat him any different.
Same old words. His brother, our brother, his brother. I'm just not understanding why we keep hearing the repetitions with the same words. He was our brother. I mean, you've told us that 59,011 times.
We didn't treat Trayson any different. We don't treat Trayson any different. And they just flipped it. I just think that is so wild that they're pushing this thing that they're saying, oh, they want to end racism and all this stuff. Well, they're the one pushing it. They're pushing the racism. And I just think that's kind of crazy.
Morgan, what's your thoughts on this? How does it affect you?
First I want to say, wish this would have never happened. I wish Nolan would still be here with us today. And, but I, in my opinion, I think that the media, they shouldn't have pushed the narrative from so early. I think that they should have let the local officials do their job, let them release statements, and then I mean, the media is obviously going to see that and then do whatever they do. But that's what I mean. I trust local officials.
And with what has transpired,
I would trust the local officials too. If my family was intertwined with them and we had these relationships, you should trust them, because from what we see, it looks like they're putting everything to you guys' favor. So you should trust them, because tell me, what person do you know that's being investigated but yet out doing interviews? I'll wait.
How does that dictate your response? Because you have a 30,000-foot view of all of this stuff, right? You see the way that it could have went, and you see that there's people that instigated the narrative that's out there now. And as a defamation attorney, how does this navigate your tactics?
Sure. And I want to be clear about something tonight. I'm not going to give any particular person any more oxygen than they've already sucked up. But I will say this. What's been said about Morgan, Jax, and Warren, I'm not going to call them untruths or half-truths or false lies. So the first thing that's really important here is we're dealing with lies and liars. We're dealing with profiteers. We're dealing with hustlers. And
that's crazy that he said hustlers, being that they have almost raised about $200,000 on somebody that they were an acquaintance of. Why come their mother and their mammy and their pappies couldn't pay for their legal defense? Why did they grift off of Nolan's name to get money? But you might want to change that. Oh, Will Cox.
One thing that I've seen since I got here is that Ocean Springs, Mississippi, is a really beautiful place. And the region is very beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places in the country.
Beautiful for who? Beautiful for who? Good white folks.
And there is just no question. The death of Nolan Wells is a horrendous tragedy. But for the tragedy to then be magnified after his death for no reason other than profit is a...
Wait a minute. Now, coming from somebody that almost made $200,000, be careful now. You're making yourself look like a damn fool. You done made almost $200,000 and you talking about people profiting. Baby, please, you sound stupid. Remember I told you all they do is lie? Example number one. He's talking about people profiting online when they have raised money in a GoFundMe being victims and didn't even show up for the funeral. They the biggest grifters on the internet.
Disgrace, or what we would call a shanda. And I had the opportunity to go to Horn Island today with Tyler and Warren and Jax. And a lot of people who have been sucking up way more oxygen than they're entitled to have not been to the island. I'm willing to bet that a lot of the hustlers and profiteers and liars have not.
Hustlers, profiteers, and liars. I would give you every one of those titles, being that you're grifting off of the dead, talking about his mother, but yet you need money using his name to pay for a legal defense, and you ain't even been charged with a crime. So what kind of scam grift are you running?
Into that island, and you have to go to that island. And being at the island today was revelatory. It was really illuminating. It's a very dynamic marine environment, first of all. But when you go to the island, you see instantly that what some people want to be true, what they wish to be true, they're trying to wish it to be true. They're trying to make it true through their lies. It's actually not possible. It is a very, very long and narrow barrier island. It's basically very low sand dunes. And the particular part of the island that we're dealing with, there are no trees. It's hardly any foliage, hardly any tree cover, hardly any plants, and it's wide open. And on July 4th, there were thousands of people there. There is no possible way that anybody could have committed a murder in broad daylight.
There is no possible way that anybody could have committed listen, I can't agree with that. I cannot agree with that. We can't say that. Again, they have not released the autopsy. They're holding on to it. His throat was not sent to the second autopsy. Why? Why is that? What is the reason? They said he had this redness in the back of his head. Tell it to your mammy.
On a barren, windswept island that is narrow and was just swamped with people that day in broad daylight. It's just not possible given the natural environment there. And that leads me to the next point, which is this. Once you know what the timeline is, when you combine the timeline with the actual dynamics of the island itself, all of the lies completely unravel because it isn't possible. And here's why.
Right. He just wandered off and drowned. Oh, we got you.
Morgan, Warren, and Jax left the island at about 4:30 p.m. That's it. They were gone. That is not open for debate. So that's a fact. They were gone. And at that time, Nolan Wells was still alive. Now, I'm not going to name them out of respect for their privacy, but just as one example, there are two very fine, upstanding members of the Ocean Springs community who saw Nolan Wells at about 10 minutes to 6 p.m. So about an hour.
I feel like he needs to be sued, because we have the CETO call, Goofy. Why are we listening to you when we have the CETO call? You talking about liars when you seem to be one yourself. The CETO call places Nolan on the boat. I know you liars want to pretend that the CETO call doesn't exist, and you want to pretend like it isn't real. And this is why I'm gonna keep talking about it. He couldn't have been on the island because he was on a boat, dummy.
Hour and a half after these fine young men had left the island, they were gone, departed. Nolan Wells was alive. And these two witnesses, two very reliable, very credible, and very...
He couldn't have been in two places at one time, okay? What he's not saying is, what about the two or the couple people that stayed on the island that said that they didn't see him? Come on, you got to come up with a better lie. We have the CETO call. Confess.
Upstanding members of the community, they saw Nolan, and they've known Nolan for years. There's no chance that they made a mistake. And by the way, this can be corroborated through other evidence, other eyewitness accounts. And that's the end of it right there. That's before we get into everything else about it.
Why are people not being arrested? The CETO call, you see what they do for these barbaric animals? We gonna sit up here and act like the CETO, this is what they do. That's why I don't like them, okay? This is why I don't like them. To sit here and play in our faces as if the CETO call don't exist. What? What is this moron trying to talk about? Like, what is he telling us right now? This is the most stupidest shit I've ever heard of.
Situation. And when I look at this, I feel like there's levels of defamation and areas of defamation. And I'm not going to speak on your behalf because this is your story to tell, your story to litigate. But which areas are the most egregious that you are going to go after, or that you guys think also are?
We're done. We don't want to hear about this shit that they're talking about. We don't give a damn about what they're talking about as it relates to their victim mentality. So yeah, I won't be watching the second part. There's clearly nothing to see here. More victim mentality, clicks and views. You're not telling us nothing but giving us your sad story of how you are a victim. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you like the video. If you guys have not, make sure you subscribe, share the video. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I have no plans on
Secret Service Sam here with a Nolan Xavier Wells update. And Nicole Everything just posted this, and it's perfectly said. Nolan's body was found in the exact same place where the GPS said the boat arrived to and where the boat left from. And that whole area had been searched on July 5th, the day before, by the Cajun Navy searchers. It's impossible for them to have missed a body there. It's also impossible for his body to not sink or float away with the current or stay there for 3 days. It doesn't make any physical sense at all. Now, we know Horn Island, you dock and then you're pretty much like the water. It's like a sandbar. So you're up to your like ankles or knees. So he would have to go so far out swimming to actually drown there. It's just not possible that they missed him during the search. And allegedly, people believe that his body was placed there on the morning of the 6th, just hours before he was found. We need justice for Nolan Xavier Wells right now. And something stinks to high holy hell. And we're not going to let up off this gas pedal until we get the answers we want and we need and the family deserves. Where is the autopsy report? Why is it not out yet? In Mississippi, we are watching you. Stop playing in our faces and come forward with the information. We are not stupid. There's so many other content creators who have pointed out that we know there is more than this one boat involved. Where are the other boats' GPSs and where are the other boat captains to tell us what happened to Nolan? Keep pushing this story so we can keep getting justice for Nolan Xavier Wells. Secret Service Sam.
As Ephesians 5:11 states, take no part in the works of darkness, rather expose them, because it is a shame to even speak of the things that they do in secret. And that's what we are continuing to do with this Nolan Wells case. As you just heard Secret Service Sam say, many people are starting to believe that Nolan Wells was dumped at that location where he was found. Now I'm going to show you another scholar who believes the same thing, and he's going to tell you why. But that area in which Nolan Wells was found was searched extensively the day before. And then all of a sudden, the next day, the body turns up right at the precise location that the boys docked, and they left away speedily. Now, also what a lot of people are concerned about is the additional boats. There were 3 boats that allegedly came out in a crew of 30 children, and they're only focusing on that one boat that Nolan was alleged to be on. So where are the other 2 boats? Many people believe that, during that time that they went back and they went to Fort Bayou and they went here, they stayed there, and they did this on a alleged sinking boat. Many people feel like they were trying to cover up, get the story together, find out the next plan because Nolan was somehow unalived in their presence. Now, I'm going to let you hear the good friend, Dr. Umar, as he so eloquently laid out on the Art of Dialogue's interview where and why he thinks it is no way physically and medically possible that Nolan Wells was able to drown, and then that whole area gets searched, and then he suddenly pops up in the area that is already searched. Just watch this.
There's a strong chance, Art, that after they unalived Nolan, they held on to the body overnight and dumped it the next day, Art. Or they took the body to one of the other islands around Horn Island and dumped the body. And let me tell you why I believe this, Art. Let's go back to Emmett Till. Let's go to Emmett Till, Art. Emmett Till was unalived on August 28th. They barbed wired Emmett Till to a 75-pound cotton gin, 1955. August 28th, 1955, Emmett Till was unalived, and they barbed wired him to a 75-pound cotton gin and threw him in the Tallahatchie River. The Tallahatchie River, Art, is a freshwater river. Horn Island is on the Gulf of Mexico. It's salt water. Salt water is rougher and more active and more buoyant than freshwater, Art. Follow me on this. Emmett Till got thrown in the Tallahatchie, barbed wired to a 75-pound cotton gin, Art, and his body made it up to the surface on August the 31st. Even though he was tied to a 75-pound cotton gin in a river, his body floated up to the surface in 3 days, Art. Emmett Till was 14. Nolan Wells is 18. If Nolan Wells was unalived and dumped immediately on July 4th, Art, we should have saw his body on July 5th. If Emmett Till's body can make it to the top in 3 days, tied to a cotton gin, Art, why did Nolan Wells' body only surface the morning of July 6th? I think there is a strong possibility they held onto his body, Art, because they were afraid that if they dumped it immediately, it would surface too soon. If they dumped Nolan's body too soon, it would have surfaced before they were ready. That body could have floated back, Art, before they made it back home. They all go to jail. They could have held onto his body, Art, and dumped it on July 5th or dumped it the morning of July 6th. Because according to science, Art, Nolan's body should not have surfaced for 3 days. Or, according to what happened to Emmett Till, it should have surfaced within a day. The fact that it took Nolan Wells' body 41 hours before we saw it, I think that body might have gotten dumped, Art. I think they might have held onto Nolan Wells' body and dumped it a day or two later. And that's why the other two boats are important to the investigation, Art. How do we know Nolan wasn't unalived on one boat and held on a second boat? How do we know that? How do we know a second boat didn't take Nolan Wells' corpse to one of them other islands and then the body floated back, Art? Why are we not investigating all 3 boats and all 30 white children? Art, I'm going to tell you like this. For that boy to not tell that CETO operator how many people was on that boat, and she asked him 3 times, and the fact he lied and said there was no adults, and then he still didn't answer her question and said everybody under 21, and she had to repeatedly say that was not my question. Why are you unwilling to tell her it's only 7 people and not 8 people? Last
All right,
thing I'm
so
gonna say.
he just echoed the sentiment of a lot of people. You know, there's no way that that body could have been missed by the United Cajun Navy dive team, expert searchers, professionals, and then just all of a sudden pop up. And it has already been documented, actually by the guy, John Thrasher, that the body didn't seem to be in the water that long because it wasn't waterlogged. And let me show you this right here. And this is a comment on another post that would explain why his body was not waterlogged. They dumped him there. And that is a very real possibility because you remember Warren in this interview, he made it very clear that the Palm Beach, it had already left. My buddy had already left. He made it very clear that one boat left, got up out of there before they even left. Possibly could Nolan's body been on that boat already deceased. But these are things that we don't know. But once again, we do know that there is definitely a suspicious construct to this whole Nolan Wells things. And people are going to continue to keep this story in the headlines until they tell the truth. But there's a lot of things already coming to light, and there's going to be some more things coming to light. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this.
Hey guys, what's going on? Listen, this is a shocking development in the Nolan Wells case, all right? It looks like Ocean Springs and all the people involved via Officer DeDjango is giving an ultimatum to Nolan's mama. Either if you want to find out what happened to your son, you need to dump Ben Crump. If you want any justice, and baby, don't forget, we hold the keys to justice, you must abandon anybody that is protecting you and fighting for your rights. Listen, I know it's a lot. I have my evidence on what I base my opinion on. I want you to watch this and you let me know what happens. And in the end, we are going to show you something that I believe is so shocking. It's going to change the way you actually look at this. Now, let me just preface by saying this. Officer DeDjango has kind of changed tactics. Again, he has not hidden the fact at all that he is friends, right? He has not hidden the fact that he is friends, or at least on the side of the boys, the parents. He thinks this is all a big nothing burger. He thinks that this needs to be pushed under the rug. He firmly believes the boys. That's fine. Nobody's accused the boys of anything, I don't think officially from Nolan's mama's side, but he's still taking this. I believe he is using his platform to soften up Christine. okay? And to get her to make the same mistake that Carmelo Anthony's parents did by trusting in the community, by trusting in the words that people say, and that by trusting that these people actually have her best interest. Don't believe me? Well, we'll talk about the current interview with the 4 boys. There's now 4. But I want to start where this whole tactic just started in the last interview with the guy that was exposed as not really knowing Nolan at all. And basically, he got up there to explain to us how Mississippi isn't racist. This is, I think, the same day a woman was found hanging from a tree on Remembrance Lane, and the fire trucks had to come and get her down because only a fire ladder could get that high up in the tree. All right. So listen to what Tatum had to say. First, in this interview, he apologized to Christine Walmsley, okay, which I already was like, where are you going with this? But it gets better. Listen.
That why can't the families come together and talk? The thing that surprised me, because I thought no effort was made on either side. I was like, okay, I guess these people they got beef or something. But then when I went down there, I saw that Warren's stepmother reached out. Warren had a couple phone calls. Some of the other parents reached out. And I just wish that.
Pause that, because it's important you remember. Warren's stepmama, Judge Ashley Cole, reached out to Christine. We actually have the messages and the timestamps, and it is going to disgust you when you see the truth of this reach out that this man said he saw that he's trying to perpetrate. Warren reached out, yes, to tell her that we cannot locate your son. But let's keep going because it goes deeper. Hold on.
Benjamin Crump would have given advice as a responsible person that is acting in good faith to say, hey, let's communicate with their lawyers because we're not going to get their testimony from the police until the police is finished with the investigation. This could be months later. Well, how about we go lawyer to lawyer? Let's talk through this and figure out, what do you know? What do we know? So we can get to the bottom of what could have happened. Because based on my research and the interviews.
Now, you need to pause that because this is what he is proposing. I know he tries to make it sound like, oh, this is so reasonable. He is saying, they have information that they gave the police, but they have not shared it with Nolan's mom because Ben Crump is her lawyer. And the fact of, to me, this sounds like a thinly veiled, not even threat, but a promise that, hey, there's information the police has and that it is secret until the investigation's over. So if you want that information, which, by the way, the information is about, could lead to finding out what happened to your son and how he died, talk to us directly. But Ben Crump isn't there because Ben Crump is manipulating things. Ben Crump is causing trouble. And these are Nolan's friends and the friends' parents, if you want this information that the police won't give you, you have to come through us. And you have to come through us on our terms, completely unprotected. But let's keep going.
I've done, Warren and the rest of these kids weren't there. They were gone on a boat. They showed me.
The investigation he's done, all he did, what investigation did he do besides follow them around like it's an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, Southern Charm? What exactly investigation did he do? They said A, he said, okay, boss. They said B, he said, okay, boss. They said D, okay, boss. He didn't question anything. He just let them tell their side of the story, and that's fine. But don't spit on me and tell me it's raining. Again, I think that they're taking a new tactic. I think because Officer Tatum had another black person on, this black person, he said Emmett Till happened, this other guy that said he was the Barbara, blah, blah. Emmett Till happened 71 years ago. There's no racism in Mississippi because they get to have mixed babies. And I did not know that finding a white woman to let you procreate with her said racism was over. I didn't know that's what we were fighting for civil rights in the bus. I thought we were fighting to end systematic oppression that disenfranchises our people economically, socially, education-wise. I didn't know that Martin Luther King was marching so he could get a sandy-haired kid. His words, not mine. But hear me out. I think this whole thing of the show is You're apologizing, and now you're putting this offer out. You're putting a honeypot. And because people and the way they think, you think that if Black people put this out there, that she might be more inclined to it. Again, I think the undertones, it's not even undertones, what they're saying is obvious. If you want answers that lead to your son, you're going to have to come through us and ditch Big Crump. What type of person that really cares? Why does Ben Crump being there scare you? Y'all own half the legislation in Mississippi. How could in any way Ben Crump do anything that would harm these boys? Y'all got the FBI on your side. You can't be serious, but let's keep going.
Life 360, GPS tracking. They had witness testimony. That girl, Katie, I seen her text message where she said that Nolan didn't get back on the boat. Like, so all this is showing me that these young men that were initially accused were gone. And there were people who saw Nolan afterwards. And
that has been debunked as a lie. Let me show you this really quick. That has been debunked as a lie. Let me just cut in
I'm
and
just
show
here
you this
to
really
debunk
quick.
a photo that
Right here, this is the photo where everybody said they saw Nolan. No, this was another darker complexion man. And it was debunked by the people in that photo. And the reason I believe they debunked it is because they were not from Ocean Springs. She said, this is not Nolan. This is my son with his friend. We're from Olive Branch and we're visiting family over the 4th. Again, it is odd that the people speaking out for this photo that the Cajun Navy and a lot of people tried to pass off as proof that Nolan was around. It has actually been debunked by the people in the actual photo. But getting back into what Officer Django is saying, let's just let him finish this off. Hold on. Again, this is his investigation. They let him see text messages. They told him, I mean, for God's sakes, was this man even a real police officer? Listen, I don't care if he was or wasn't. I just don't understand why he is being allowed to use words like my investigation, my this, my that, when it's clearly not true. But let's keep going.
I want us to focus on those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, who saw him then? Let's talk to these people. And I want us to focus on those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, let
me just rewind this real quick.
We're gone. All this is showing me that these young men that were initially accused were gone. And there were people who saw Nolan afterwards. And I want us to focus on those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, who saw him then? Let's talk to these people, because we're going in this direction with these young people that said that they already talked to the cops. They showed me all this stuff. It appears that they did leave. And we need to be focusing on somebody else. Either, unfortunately, he may have drowned or something happened, but there's other people out here that I feel like is not even being questioned, because all the attention is on these people. And I wish that the two families would come together. And
so, you guys, do you see how insidious this is? You're trying to tell her that you've seen evidence that there might be other suspects. And why isn't the public focusing on these other suspects and leave those boys alone? But you're only going to give her information about these potential other suspects if she stops messing with Ben Crump, if she fires Ben Crump, and if she comes to them quietly and humbly. And then they'll say, if you know that there are other suspects, if you know there were other people that could have been around Nolan, you, Officer Django, those boys, everybody crying for, oh my God, leave us alone. If you know there's other information, why don't you give it to Nolan's mom? Why don't you give it to the police? Matter of fact, you don't even have to give it to Nolan's mom, because everybody's trying to CYA. Why don't you just give it to the public yourself, if that exists? Why does she have to abandon? Again, you guys, it makes me mad because it's so insidious what he is doing, where his alliances lie, and what he's trying to do to pull Nolan's mom in. Because at the end of the day, yes, she does have Ben Crump. Yes, she does have the public's help. But at the end of the day, she is a grieving mother that lost her oldest child, and she lost him less than a month ago. At the end of the day, and you are literally trying to play off of that fear, that agony, that grief, that desperation in order to get her to act in a way that I do not believe is in her best interest. You know there's other people? There's other suspects, then name them. Name them. Let them be named. Let them be shamed. Name them, but you won't. And I'm willing to guess it's because you can't. But let's continue.
Say, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And not get into a situation where it's a race war. And now you got people, and you said this, and you were right on point. And you said people are afraid that Benjamin is not going to get no help out here because people are afraid. And what I was told was that there may be people that seen and know more, but they don't want to run the risk of saying, I saw him last, even though I didn't do nothing, I didn't have nothing to do with it, because then they may end up getting death threats and saying that they in some conspiracy. So that's not, you didn't do the family right by doing this.
No.
Okay, first of all, we're not worried about two raccoons in a can. I will say this again. You're saying that all these people, is this why we started hearing about their death threats? Is this why they lawyered up? Is this why all that's happened? To let other people know that if you speak out for good or bad, the public's going to go after you? Listen, let's move on, okay? Because it's pissing me off, right? This notion that Officer Tatum put that Warren's mom texted her. Here's what she texted her on July 7th, after Nolan had been missing for 2 whole days. Christine, this is Ashley Cole. If or when you ever want to talk to me, this is my number. She sent that Tuesday, July 7th at 8:59 p.m. You ain't have ish to say prior to that. But interesting enough, because I feel like when people talk, they tell on themselves, right? And if they don't tell on themselves, you can look at accents. I said, that's an interesting thing. You called her and said, if or when I'm here for you. I said, okay, that's kind of cute.
I was really hoping.
Hold on. Let me fast forward. I said, okay, that's kind of cute. If or when? July 7th at 8:59 p.m., right? When did she make that statement on Facebook? Well, according to public records, Jackson County Chancellery Court Judge Ashley Cole released her detailed public statement on Tuesday, July 7th at approximately 9:15 p.m. on Facebook to address rumors surrounding the Nolan Wells case. This woman, I just have to remind you,
I was
this
really
woman,
hoping.
sorry, let me fast forward. I keep losing the visual. This woman, literally 16 minutes after she said, Christine, this is Ashley Cole. If or when you ever want to talk to me, this is my number. This woman, exactly 16 minutes later, made a public post, right? Saying that on Facebook, right? Her accounts were temporarily deactivated for safety concerns, clarified that her son Warren and his friends left Horn Island at around 4:30 p.m. on July 4th. It's because their boat was taking on water, stated that Nolan Wells chose to stay behind on the island, and confirmed her son fully cooperated with Jackson County Sheriff's Department. You guys, again, the setup is in, and this is what I mean about Officer Jangle being so intellectually dishonest. This is just one small thing. She reached out to her for the first and last time 16 minutes before she posted on Facebook that her son is innocent of everything. This is before anybody was even accusing that boy of anything. 16 minutes later, again, it's all for. And to me, it looks like it's an alibi. To me, it looks like you knew people were going to criticize you for your post. So you had to say, and you wanted to say, well, I reached out to the mother and she never got back to me. You reached out to her, and then 16 minutes later, you put up that famous post where you came out swinging saying, he died from a drowning and this is sad, but it is what it is, with no proof, with no documentation, and with a woman, a mother that was grieving and pushing for more. Anyway, you guys, listen, let me know what you think in the comments. We are going to be following this, but I'm going to do a recap of the stuff that was in Officer Tatum's interview. But I am telling you, to me, I could be wrong. It looks like they are trying to do a Carmelo Anthony.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? The woman who has been exposing all of those who might be involved in Nolan Wells's murder. Yeah, fam. Well, she's now having a life threat. Ever since she drove around and showed all those cameras. They got cameras on buildings, cameras on businesses, cameras on homes, cameras on the docks, cameras everywhere. So basically, this woman right here, Just Bree, is saying that ain't no way they could not have footage. If that is a such thing as an investigation, it's impossible for them not to have footage of what happened to Nolan Wells. Impossible. It's impossible. She drove around Ocean Springs and she located several cameras all over the place. There's cameras everywhere, which a lot of us suspected in the first place. We said, man, there's cameras everywhere. Hell, even where you live at, you can't go anywhere without being watched. They got a camera everywhere. They're watching everything. So it's impossible to have all those cameras out there and nothing be recorded. Nothing. It's almost akin to police officers, 5-6 police officers pulling up and they end up killing somebody, but none of them had their body cams on. Think about what I just said. So she going hard. I mean, salute. In fact, let me give her the proper salute. Breathe. I ain't got no problem with that. Yeah, she putting in the work, man. She giving them that work. Yeah, she's Just Bree on TikTok. Now, I was on her TikTok page and I saw some disturbing messages that people were leaving. And these appear to be fans of hers. Now, they could be bots, because the bots are at work overtime. But it appears to be fans, but this is what they wrote. One person said, you need to be safe. Someone probably already reported you to the authorities. So please be careful. Now, why would she have to be careful? And why would she have to worry about being reported to the authorities if all she's doing is just trying to find out what happened to Nolan? Isn't that what the authorities want? Shouldn't the investigators be investigating? And shouldn't they welcome Bree's findings? Interesting comment. Moving on. Jackie said, you are doing an amazing job, but you just got to be careful because they can pay somebody to take you out. So please be careful. Justice for Nolan. Yeah. And they will. They will. They're very capable of doing that. They don't have any shame in doing it. And the thing about it is, there wouldn't be any true investigation to find out what happened to somebody if indeed they decided to go that way. That's why you can't say that. Can't say it, but damn, I want to say it bad. Ooh, I want to say it. But look, fam, y'all can read between the lines. You know what you got to do. Because we're on our own. We're out here on our own. All of this stuff about justice, these people don't care nothing about justice. They care nothing about justice. They want what they want. They use justice. They use the judicial system to punish others and protect themselves. Yeah. That's what's going on around here, fam. That's what's happening. Dre lady said, please be safe. Mississippi don't care who you are. They like to keep their secrets. True story. True story. They do not care who you are. They like to keep their secrets. Well, unless they're at a party drunk out of their mind bragging. They don't mind getting drunk and bragging, about how they circumvent the law. Yeah. So anybody, and I think most people understand this about Mississippi and, every damn state in the United States. Most people understand that if you are doing the right thing, if you're a righteous person, you'll probably come under attack. If you're a devil, you're evil, you're demonic. If you're wicked, you might get a pass because the wicked people, the most wicked, are at the top of every industry. I do believe sometimes people go in with good intentions, but once they look around and they see how this game is really played, they see how rigged it is, they see good people, decent people, constantly under attack. Decent people, good people, being persecuted, prosecuted, demonized, ostracized. I think some people just say, you know what? I can't stop it. I can't beat them, so I may as well join them. I think a lot of people end up having that type of mentality. Quick story. There was a guy who worked, this is a story, this is a true story. There was a guy who worked at a company, fledgling company, right? This company was worth millions of dollars. He came in as an intern. And, he was brown-eyed, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, right? Just coming in, happy to be part of the movement. He's excited. And, good worker, hard worker, right? Had that light in his eyes. And then he was working under some people who were not so, a guy who was not so decent, right? Just a bully. Over time, he got, bullied even by his, a few other people that was in the company. He eventually rose into the ranks. He got on with permanent employment, got to the big bucks. And then he got himself an assistant. And you know what he did? The same thing that was done to him. He started bullying his assistant. I would have never thought that he would do that, but it makes sense. I wish I had Elliot Connie on the show right now because he could tell me exactly what that is from a psychological standpoint. But it makes me think about how sometimes people are abused. And when you're growing up, if you're abused, you hate being abused. You don't understand why somebody would treat you the way that they treat you, right? And then, without even thinking about it, you wake up one day and now you're an abuser. You're doing the same thing to others that somebody did to you that you hated, but you're doing the same thing. And I think that is just a simple process of conditioning. It's like a Pavlov law, right? It's a process of conditioning. We are who we are by a process of conditioning. And that is the entire state of Mississippi. They are who they are by a process of conditioning. And there's never been any reason for them to really actually change because over time they've rewarded bad behavior. See, if a person can get rewarded for bad behavior, what is the incentive for good behavior? If other people see a person being rewarded for bad behavior, what is the incentive for them to do well? Most people want to be rewarded. Most people want to be prosperous. Most people look for opportunity. So if they think, damn, well, I can be an a-hole and I can be disrespectful and I can be a crud person and still get paid. I can actually be revered. Hell, I can become the president of the United States. Why should I switch it up? I mean, it works for him. It looks like that's what the people want because that's what they're rewarding. So let me do what he's doing. And that's why you get a whole lot of these politicians who will switch it up. They'll go from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, not because they had a change of heart, but because it was more advantageous for them personally. That's how it go. Well, what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Bree, you're doing God's work. Keep it up. That look like you.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? We got a white woman from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, who is calling for transparency in the Nolan Wells case. I ain't got no problem with that. And here's why. When white people publicly speak up in the Nolan Wells case, it takes the conversation beyond just Black people defending a Black victim. You dig what I'm saying? So her voice is necessary, like all the other voices that have been speaking up and out against the lack of transparency in this case. Her name is Noel. Check out.
Hi, my name's Noelle, and I'm a resident of Ocean Springs, and I have lived in Ocean Springs since 2015. I am here to ask for transparency for the Nolan Wells case. There has been a history of systemic racism that we have experienced since I've lived in Ocean Springs. Some of it has involved the KKK. And then we don't have a lot of transparency with the DA's office and grand juries or county grand juries. And so I'm just here, to ask for more transparency. Also, we know that there's been a history of medical misconduct and gross negligence within the Mississippi Medical Examiner's Office. So I would hope that we could get changes to our system that would improve that, because right now we've just had changes to personnel. Thanks.
Now, I'm going to tell you why this world that we live in, this country that we live in, this society that we live in is so unbearable at times. Because what she's saying is controversial. And she's only speaking truth to power. She's only talking about, living in a decent society. Living in a society where right is right and wrong is wrong. Where nobody gets a pass or an advantage simply because of the color of their skin. That is the most ignorant damn thing I've ever heard of in my life. The color of your skin, you get just because of the color of your skin, you supposed to be in. That's it. You ain't did nothing. Do you understand that none of us are responsible for our skin color? We didn't earn it. None of us earned it. None of us. It's not one human being alive that earned their skin color. I can see if you did something on your own merit. I can see if you went out and earned it. Man, I got my skin color, man. I got that black, man. Yeah, I earned that. Yeah, I went out there and got it, boy. I put that work in. People giving you trophies and stuff, boy, because you got the right exact hue, hue. You did it exactly right. You got the right percentages. Man, you worked on that, boy. You went and got that white skin, boy. You got that white. It's perfect white. It's like, man, it's phenomenal how you was able to go out there and accomplish that. You did something that only a few people can do. It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard, fam. It is really stupid. And what I realized about racism is that, all of us are who we are by a process of conditioning. And the people who have hurt us the most, who are responsible for our strongest convictions, are the people who are closest to us. Think about it. If you were abused as a child, it was probably somebody that looked like you, that shared your color, your background, right? If you got cheated on, it was probably somebody that looked like you, because, hey, you don't date nobody outside of your race, right? If somebody owe you some money and you got a problem loaning money these days, they didn't pay you back. It was probably somebody that looked like you. If you got jumped at school, you got bullied at school, it was probably somebody that looked like you, right? If you got cheated on, it was probably somebody that looked like you. I did already say that. You see what I'm saying, fam? It's like these type of experiences shape our strongest convictions. So how is it that we're able to hate someone who hadn't caused a fraction of the harm that people that look like us did? But the people that look like us, we just kind of deal with it. We don't try to kill them. We don't try to shoot them in the head, at traffic stops. We don't try to drown them. We don't try to act like we're going out boating with them and then kill them. We don't shoot them while lying in the bed, sleep. We don't shoot them in the head at a sleepover. You see what I'm saying, fam? It's the darndest thing. Noelle said she wants change. She wants transparency in Mississippi. Now, I don't know what that is. Transparency in Mississippi, everybody going to jail, because Mississippi is corrupt and tore up from the flow up, right? She said that this racism and stuff is, straight up called the KKK out. The grand juries. She said there's lack of transparency in the DA's office. You got the DA's office, you got gross negligence in the medical examiner's office, and we know about that. The medical examiner in Mississippi, one of the worst of the absolute worst. In corporate America, if somebody moved like that, they would not have a job. It just amazes me how people can be incompetent and how people can be corrupt. They can be dangerous and maintain employment with the same company. Absolutely amazing. She said she wants changes to the system because right now, it's just changes to personnel. You see? It's just changes to personnel. It's the same system. That's why policing in America ain't changed in 160 years. It's the same old thing. Because it's a system. So the system has to be dismantled. And they're not in no hurry. They're not in any hurry. They're not excited about dismantling a system that they constantly abuse and reward themselves and pat themselves on the back for maintaining. It's the system that they built. It's corrupt. It's totally inadequate. And this is why we continue to have the same issues, because the people just change, the names just change, but they go into the same exact system. I'll give you an example. So remember when the New England Patriots was winning all those Super Bowls and stuff? They was winning all those championships. It didn't matter who they brought in. And they brought in good players, don't get me wrong. But those players' games were elevated by the system that Bill Belichick and, is it Bill Belichick? I think it's Bill Belichick. And the owner, I can't say his name, Kraft, Robert Kraft, yeah, that's him, had created. It was a system that they went into. And that system worked as good as any business system has ever worked. So if you came in, you went over here, you got over here, it was the best of the best. Always players that performed mediocre in certain cities, once they went into that system in New England, they looked like superstars. They performed at the highest level. The game just stepped up, tremendously by being in that system. So a system could be good for you or it could be bad. The system, if you work, that's why when they talk about business, they talk about systems. Get a system. Once you put a system together, then that's how you get to the big money. And that's how you're able to continue to do what you do and almost on autopilot, because you have a system in place. So these people got a system in place and it's on autopilot. And it's on autopilot, corrupt. And that's what's going on in Mississippi. And that's why this case is still open, right? That's why they don't have any body in jail right now. That's why they didn't make any arrest.
Revolutionary salute to our queen. Lala, go harder for the 10 jewels to the war chest. Revolution is way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, queen. Salute.
They made no charges because these dudes are being protected by a system. And I would dare say that Nolan Wells was murdered because somebody thought it would be cool because the system would protect them. R.I.P. Nolan Wells. No more talk.
We have Ed Pausick, Warren, Jax, And then we have Morgan here.
But it looks like Brandon Tatum outdid itself. And he goes on to interview Nolan Wells' fake friends, which was Warren, Jax, and Morgan. And guess who they brought along with them, y'all? They brought that Trump lawyer guy that's supposed to be defending them and coming after everybody that's saying something about them. And I am not worried about it. We are going to get the truth or else. But y'all check this out, because they are saying some outlandish things in this interview. And again, they're clipping it up. But y'all check this out, man.
Obviously, they know you represented Donald Trump in some pretty high-profile cases. Now you work for the young men here. How do you work within what's happening to these young men?
Well, unfortunately, I wish there was no case. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're out there and you lied about these guys, you lied about my guys, you lied about Tyler's guys here, if you lied about Morgan, if you lied about Jax, if you lied about Warren, we're going to get you. And you're going to be hauled into court. You're going to be held accountable. And it's going to be very painful.
Boy, if you don't, I want y'all to pay attention to something, because when this defamation attorney, he say things like, yeah, these good old boys from Ocean Springs, and these are good. What they're doing is performing a Jedi mind trick on y'all. They are trying to do the Men in Black flash and flash the hell out of your memory.
I am just a figment of your imagination.
To go back into white man Jesus. This is why they indoctrinate the earth with a white man Jesus. And this is why when you Google the word God and Jesus, it automatically comes up white. So now when you look at people like Warren, Wyatt, Fart, and the other guys, you automatically think of this white man Jesus can't do no wrong. And that's what he's explaining when he say, these guys are from good old Ocean Springs. These good old Americans. Pay attention.
These guys are not just the finest that Ocean Springs has to offer, finest that Mississippi has to offer. These are the finest young men that America has to offer. These are, really great people. And Tyler actually taught me good Ocean Springs people. That was one of the first things I heard.
2 videos in one day. I must be a mad woman. With only 4 minutes of this video for me to work with. Watch what I've noticed. Keep your eyes on this one and Warren, okay? Watch right after the first question.
What is your thoughts on that phone call to Cito? Some people have gone out and...
Did y'all see it? Did you all see them literally lock eyes? I'll do it again slower for you.
Some people have gone out and...
Warren wasn't ready for him to break eye contact yet. He wanted to say something with his eyes. Speaking of signals, because this guy really thought that nobody would notice. Now, I'm not sure who this guy is, but notice how he's wearing a hat that says Call Cox. Now, y'all remember that Bobby Cox is the mayor of Ocean Springs, and he's friends with these people. Cox is also the name of the lawyer that they hired first. Watch what I caught twice in 4 minutes.
That clip of all of us on the boat, who it is going to believe what they want to hear. If they want to believe that my friends and I had something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we crack your super secret code, dude? We'll just do baseball signals, guys. They'll never suspect. Which is honestly just a testament for how stupid these kids are. They have to have an adult sit in on the interview with them and touch their hat. I can't wait for the rest of this interview.
I mean, he's on the phone. Wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something? I mean,
What an absolute wild thing to say when so many people have seen this video and slowed it down and noticed that there's either like a hand or a foot or something that comes flying up when they tug on the toe right there. Like, I can't believe that they said that. But please, please, please put out this interview. Please give me something to tear apart. Y'all, I swear I see Warren stop breathing when he starts this sentence, and he doesn't move again until he closes it out. Watch. They try to cover it up with an edit.
On the phone, wouldn't you think that you would have seen Nolan on the bottom of on the floor or something, or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him or something? I mean,
So y'all know how Harvey from TMZ, he was so sure that 2 eyewitnesses to come out and say, yeah, people seen Nolan Wells on that beach after the friends left. And they took those people's words as it was just facts.
And he wasn't on that boat.
Yeah, but Harvey, how do you know?
I'm not going to name them out of respect for their privacy, but just as one example, there are 2 very fine, upstanding members of the Ocean Springs community who saw Nolan Wells at about 10 minutes to 6 p.m. So about an hour and a half after these fine young men had left the island. They were gone, departed. Nolan Wells was alive. And these 2 witnesses, 2 very reliable, very credible, and very upstanding members of the community, they saw Nolan. And they've known Nolan for years. There's no chance that they made a mistake. And by the way, this can be corroborated through other evidence, other eyewitness accounts. And that's the end of it right there. And that's the end of it right there. And that's the end of it right there.
And he wasn't on that boat.
Hey guys, I'm just here to debunk a photo that was going around. It was in the Cajun Navy report. This is the photo that is zoomed in, basically saying that that could have been Nolan. So in the Cajun Navy report, they have this photo on there saying that the newly supplied photograph is represented as having been taken at 4:50 Central on 4th of July, 19 minutes after the boat left. However, if you look on that bottom line, it says Nolan possibly is in this photo, but not confirmed. That is not Nolan. It is confirmed. This woman right here is confirming that this is not Nolan. She says, this is not Nolan. This is my son with his friend. We're from Olive Branch and we're visiting family over the 4th. So I still have yet to see any confirmed photo of Nolan Wells on Horn Island after 4:31 p.m.
Did y'all catch this? They have not been accused of anything right now. In fact, we've never named the 3 teens because of that. But now that the lawyers have stepped forward and say they're all going to this island, we decided to name them. Warren Hudson, Jack Patalo, and Morgan Seymour all say they're going back out to this island to do their own investigation. These people gave the Wansley family hell for doing their own investigation and not trusting the investigative process of law enforcement. But here you are doing the same exact thing, doing your own private investigation, pretty much investigating yourself a month later. So let me get this straight. Is the investigation that Mississippi law enforcement is doing not good enough?
I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake.
Or is all that evidence that you claim to have not good enough? If you've done nothing, then why not side with the family, just like Javon and his mom did from the start? But instead, you're out here playing like you're the victim and not Nolan.
Nolan's friend Alcantara made a reshare on TikTok, allegedly, around 3 a.m. that stated this. It has since been deleted, but you can see in the post right here that it is his page with his reshares. Everything is private now, of course, everything, but that injunction or whatever Christine filed to get all his stuff, all the boys' stuff, that should be there, right? That's going to be there, right?
I'm being told that there is definitely a criminal investigation that is happening right now around the Nolan Wells case. The reason why the public hasn't seen the autopsy is because there are going to be charges brought up. Now, who exactly is going to be charged? I'm not sure, but the fact that there is actual criminal investigation gives me a little bit of hope. I want you to know that that criminal investigation is only happening because of people like you and me. Those of us that continue to make content and to continue to boost up Nolan's story is the exact reason why all of this is going forward. Listen, we still got a lot of work to do because at the end of the day, we need to know what happened to Nolan. You may notice that I'm on a new page here. Yeah, the block got hot on that other page and people are reporting me. They're not happy with us doing this digging. I can tell you that. So give me a follow on this page if you want to follow along on not only Nolan's case, but I'll also be talking more about Daniel and Tyler.
Listen here, Warren.
Secret Service Sam here with a Nolan Xavier Wells update. And Nicole Everything just posted this, and it's perfectly said. Nolan's body was found in the exact same place where the GPS said the boat arrived to and where the boat left from. And that whole area had been searched on July 5th, the day before, by the Cajun Navy searchers. It's impossible for them to have missed a body there. It's also impossible for his body to not sink or float away with the current or stay there for 3 days. It doesn't make any physical sense at all. Now, we know Horn Island, you dock and then you're pretty much like the water. It's like a sandbar. So you're up to your like ankles or knees. So he would have to go so far out swimming to actually drown there. It's just not possible that they missed him during the search. And allegedly, people believe that his body was placed there on the morning of the 6th, just hours before he was found.
Now, during the interview, Brandon Tatum asked these young evil boys, have you ever been accosted while you're outside? He asked them this 3 times. It sounds like they went this whole damn month practicing a script because Brandon Tatum was asking them, have you been accosted? Have you ever been threatened while you've been out? But Warren, he didn't get it. I noticed something. Whenever Warren is being asked a question, he never answers the question directly. He's always going off into a damn bilge pump or something like that. We don't want to hear about your damn bilge pump. But during the interview, you can see Brandon Tatum assisting him with the answer the way he asked his questions. Check this out.
Can you give me some examples of what has happened? Have you guys had things happen online, threats online? Have you guys have any examples of people accosting you or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Had experiences with either people threatening you online. I know that, Warren, we talked about this before, and we talked a little, or at least spoke a little bit about when you go out, you guys are getting accosted by people. Can you give us an example of, or at least tell the audience an example of an incident where you guys may have been accosted? Or what does that look like when you go out? People threaten you with weapons, or people trying to physically harm you, or people having to be restrained? What kind of engagement is happening when you guys go out?
Countless death threats online, been spotted. I'll let you elaborate more on that, being spotted.
I mean, people have obviously just pointed us out. I mean, as a group and even on a one-on-one setting, I think it's really just like awkward because I don't want to talk about this. And I know my friends don't want to talk about this any more than we need to. You know, we're still mourning one of our best friends' death. And it's hard to speak about it when, you know, like sometimes we just need some alone time, or sometimes we just need to, you know, lay back and not be around all this. And I mean, I've been called out in public, and I haven't been in public that much. I know my friends have had encounters in public.
What kind of engagement?
The threats have been insane from, you know, my stepmom, my dad, my mom, just everyone, included like even my brothers and my sisters. And it's just hard. I mean, it's unbelievable where like this has been taken to and the level where this is at.
When you say you've been called out in public, can you give me an example of like, what do you mean? People are threatening you with weapons? People are, you know, not allowing you, deny you service? Because I heard that Trayston, he went to a corner store and they told him his money is not good there. They wouldn't even let him buy Gatorade.
Yeah.
Are you experiencing things like that or something totally different?
Right. I wouldn't say like that. I think I haven't been denied, anything, but like Trayson, it's hard to hear from a good friend of mine that he's getting denied a Gatorade and a Red Bull before work.
What kind of engagement is happening when you guys go out?
We went to a restaurant, a couple of buddies of mine, and when we were, I wouldn't say threatening with weapons or anything, but I felt, and I know my friends felt, threat for our lives. I mean, I don't think.
Listen here, Warren.
There was like a fear factor, but at the same time, like it's awkward in public. Like I stated, like when we have to talk about these things, but we went to a restaurant and someone came up to me and was like, "Is this you?" And I was kind of like shaken up about it. Well, at first she asked like my name and like all these questions. And I was like, okay, whatever, she's just coming up to talk. Well, then she came up to me again and showed me our first interview and was like, "Are you sure this isn't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's me, like obviously." And she kind of just, I looked at my buddy and I was like, "Yeah, we're leaving, like close everything out, like we're going." And I left, and there was an altercation after I left with some of my buddies that weren't involved in this at all. And they told my friends that they were going to kill them and they wanted to fight and all this like crazy stuff. I mean, I wasn't there.
Listen here, Warren. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night.
But my friends told me this, that what the people were saying to them was like totally just crazy. Like, I mean, there was people like that were, outside of this telling us like, "Hey, you need to leave before something happens because I know what could go down right now. And like, I know that these people are crazy." So, I mean, we all felt, we were kind of shaken up about that. It was weird because it was our first encounter as a group. I wasn't there. I think it's also like just crazy that people will like look at you in the eye and tell you they'll kill you because they believe you killed your best friend and you have nothing to do with it.
And Morgan and Jax, were you guys there?
I wasn't there.
Yes, we were there. I didn't hear the part where they said they were going to kill him and stuff, but I did hear that she came up from originally.
And Nolan Wells is supposed to be your brother. Why would you sit up there and say in the interview that his mom is initiating all this trouble? You wish she wouldn't have came out and tried to get answers on her son's death, because that's basically what you're saying.
But other than that, I feel like his mom blasting us on social media from the get-go, saying that he was out there with Warren and another guy. That's where it first started to take off. And then also the fact that she posted a picture of me and Morgan and another guy and Nolan on the boat together, blasting that out there, pushing this narrative, kind of, I guess. I wish that would have never happened either. And I don't think those would have never happened. A lot of this stuff wouldn't have been as viral or gone all over the country at this point. I mean, this is a countrywide news story that is just blown out of proportion.
I think it's really bad that like people are pushing the narrative, "Oh, this is a race thing." Well, obviously it's not. I mean, this is like a brother to us.
Listen here, Warren. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night.
You sat up there and called her Christine Wells. Well, the world know her as Christine Wansley.
I'm glad I was the first one that called Christine Wells that night and told her that we haven't heard from her son. And I'm glad that I did all of that, but I hate the way this has been perceived by the media. Other than that, I mean, there's not much I would change from my point of view and my friend's point of view. I think we did everything right, and I know we did nothing wrong.
I also want to say, I think it's so criminal that they took something so anti-racist and flipped it into something super racist. Like they took, this is the definition of anti-racism. I mean, that we did not look at Nolan any different than I looked at him, or even you. We did not treat him any different. We didn't treat Trayson any different. We don't treat Trayson any different. and they just flipped it. And I just think that is so wild that they're pushing this thing that they're saying, oh, they want to end racism and all this stuff. Well, they're the one pushing it. They're pushing the racism.
In my opinion, I think that the media, they shouldn't have pushed a narrative from so early. I think that they should have let the local officials do their job, let them release statements, and then, I mean, the media is obviously going to see that and then do whatever they do. Trust the local officials.
And that's the end of the video. Y'all get in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this damn Brandon Tatum. And
Cool. Follow me.